All right, so today we're going to start on chapter 12. But just a reminder in chapter 11, we know that everybody's feelings towards Jake is starting to change, and mainly because Todd has started a bunch of ridiculous and outlandish rumors that he's spreading all over the school about Jake to make him look bad. Um, that being said, nobody's going to pass up on a good party, so they all still want to go to the Jake Garrett parties. So, with that said, let's start on chapter 12, which begins on page 137. Our opening day victory over Liberty convinced Coach Hammer that the key to our season lay in the kicking game. I practiced field goals until I thought my leg would fall off. My mouth worked even harder. With snapper Jake and holder Todd no longer talking to each other, I had to keep up the steady stream of peppy chatter to fill in all the hostile silences. And with those two, every moment was as silent as it was hostile. Officially, or at least when anybody was watching, Dee Dee seemed to belong to Todd. But I'd seen her VW in the neighborhood late at night, and judging from the undisguised loathing with which Todd and Jake regarded each other, I could tell that neither of them could figure out whose girlfriend she really was and why. And I wondered if Dee Dee knew herself. So Dee Dee is still Todd's girlfriend. However, she's also over at Jake's house every single night. I hadn't kicked from a tee all week, so I stuck around after Friday's workout for a few kickoffs. Most of the guys had already dressed and left by the time I hit the showers. I was soaping up when I heard a loud crash, followed by a full-throated yelling. I rinsed, clambered into jeans, and ran around the chalk talk area. Big Nelson Jaworski had hold of Todd underneath the arms, the way you'd pick up a newborn baby. He was shaking our helpless quarterback like a rag doll, slamming him against the row of lockers. I trusted you, Nelson roared. I thought you were my friend, and it was you the whole time. It wasn't, Todd began feebly. Shut up! Nelson hurled him into a rolling rack of footballs. The cart fell over, and Todd fell with it, hitting the concrete floor with the bouncing and wobbling balls. People saw you, Nelson almost shrieked, and I could see how close to the edge he was. You and Melissa ducking into Jake's bathroom, even into one of the bedrooms. No! Nelson, I shouted. Don't get me wrong, I personally had no problem with Todd taking a beating over this, but Nelson was dangerous. In this state, he was like a little kid who had somehow gotten his hands on a pistol. Only here, the weapon was a 260 pounds of brute strength powered by revenge-driven rage. He noticed me for the first time. Get out of here, Rick. This is between me and him. He picked Todd up by the scruff of the collar and reared back a fist the size of a Christmas ham. I took a running leap at him. He didn't even flinch when I jumped on his back. It was like striking something totally solid, a tree or a parked car. I grabbed his arm and held on for dear life. He howled with rage and flung me off, and I hit the lockers face first and tasted blood. Nelson wheeled his menace back on Todd, who had managed to scramble to his feet. More important, my side attack had provided our quarterback with the time he needed to come up with a story that might weasel him out of this mess. You got it all wrong, man. I never touched Melissa. Liar! The burly lineman closed in for the kill. Todd backpedaled, stumbled on a football, righted himself. I didn't want to say anything because we need him for the team. But Nelson, it's Jake. No, I shouted through swelling lips. Nelson hesitated. I never saw Melissa with Jake. That's his whole style, our quarterback insisted. That smooth, hey baby, how's it going, baby? He brings you to his house, he fills you full of beer, treats you like his best friend. Then, when you're too buzzed to notice, he stabs you in the back. That's bull, I snapped. Jake barely knows Melissa. Todd's audience was Nelson, not me. Think, Nelson. We had a good thing going. We had our girlfriends, played our ball. What's different? Who came out of nowhere and poisoned everything? Jake. The big lineman's voice was uncertain, but I could see the wheels turning deep inside the thick skull of his. Don't listen to him, I said urgently. I was stuck. How could I get Jake off the hook without turning Nelson right back on Todd? He doesn't know what he's talking about. It only happened once, last Friday night, Todd persisted, while you were passed out. That's why I pulled her into the bedroom. I was trying to talk some sense into her. She wouldn't listen. Jake totally had her snowed. His expression was open and sincere. Don't be too hard on Melissa. It was almost like Jake had her under some kind of a spell. He's dead, roared Nelson. No, I jumped into his path. You've got it all wrong. Jake would never do something like that. As soon as I said it, I felt ridiculous. Jake was doing exactly that to Todd, just like Todd was doing it to Nelson. Nelson swatted me aside as he stormed to the clubhouse door, and he turned to face us. He's gonna bleed. Tonight. At the party. And he was gone. I shot Todd a furious glare. I understand why you had to lie to save your neck, but why sick that maniac on poor Jake? Poor Jake? He practically spatted at me. Do you know what Jake really is? A good guy, I shot back, who happens to have a thing for Dee Dee because everybody has a thing for Dee Dee. And if you didn't treat her like bug crap, she wouldn't be looking for people to have things with. Jake's nothing but a phony, Todd argued. All the clothes, the parties, the hey baby, that's not Jake. At the recruiting seminar, I talked to some of the guys from McKinley. I cut him off. I don't care how he was at McKinley. I only know Jake now, a friend. But it's a lie. I'd never understand our quarterback so outraged, or I'd never seen our quarterback so outraged. He put one over on every kid it fits, me included. I was fooled as the rest of the guys. If I hadn't been so agitated, I would have laughed right in his face. I mean, it was pretty much in the open that his girlfriend had been cheating on him. And what did he choose to do but single out as a key injustice in this whole business? The fact that an outsider had broken the commandment against being as happening and as popular as Todd Buckley. Look, I understand you're mad at the guy, I reasoned. I would be too if I were you. But Nelson's a live grenade looking for a place to go off. We've got to find a way to call him back here before somebody winds up in the hospital. Todd shrugged. Not my problem. It is your problem, I insisted. Jake never touched Melissa, but you did. He regarded me sharply. And Nelson's never going to find out about that, right, Rick? Don't push me, I warned. If it comes down to you or Jake, I'll choose Jake. I'll rat you out. He's got you brainwashed, just like Dee Dee. Oh, there's brainwashing here, all right, I shot back. But it's not coming from Jake, it's coming from you. Everyone around here thinks you're something more than a third-rate quarterback at a third-rate school, and you're not. If I feed you to Nelson, the sun will still rise tomorrow. He was choked with shock and rage. Nobody talked to Todd like this. Not for you, he seethed and stormed out of the locker room. I knew exactly what he meant. To take sides with Jake against Todd Buckley would be a hanging offense at Fitz. I'd be an instant outcast, a high school leper. I personally like that we're actually seeing a little bit of confidence in Rick and seeing him stand up for the right thing for once, rather than, just letting people push him around, even if it means that he is going to officially ruin his reputation at the school. By the time I got to Jake's place on the bus, Marty Rappaport was backing an ancient Chevy Suburban up to the Garrett garage. Where's Jake? I barked in the window. He favored me a big grin of recognition. Hey, Carrasbite, how's it hanging? Connor Danvers and a few other veterans from Throckmorton Hall poured out of the hulking SUV and began unloading a procession of shiny kegs out the back. I counted 4 of them. Jake bought all this? I asked Marty. Some of it's mine, he admitted. I invited maybe a few more friends to stop by tonight. A few? I asked as a parade of heavy silver barrels entered the house via the back hallway. From a downstairs window next door, I caught a glimpse of Mrs. Appleford scowling at the beer and then at me. Several, he amended. Jake said it's no problem. Well, it is a problem, I told him, because the party's off. He laughed. Sure it is. Listen, a party like this, it's bigger than you and me. It's bigger than Jake. Trust me, it's happening. Jake, I barged into the house. He was in the living room supervising the placement of the kegs into 2 ice-filled kiddie pools. Hey, baby, he greeted when he saw me. What do you think? Feed your racehorse an extra pail of oats so he won't fade in the stretch? This is going to be some party. Send them back, I told him. You've got to cancel tonight. I filled him in on the locker room altercation between Todd and Nelson. Jake was grim but undeterred. It's going to be me and Dee Dee from now on, he said. I'll have to face Todd sooner or later. I stared at him. Todd isn't the problem here. It's Nelson. The guy's got a screw loose anyway, and he's extra nuts now that he knows Melissa's been cheating on him. I'll be careful. You're not being careful, I accused. Nelson's a wild animal. You think anyone's going to sacrifice themselves by getting between you and him tonight? Definitely not Todd, or anybody who cares what Todd thinks, which is just about everybody. I'm not canceling the party, he said flatly. I've come too far to turn back now. But you've already got Dee Dee, I argued. She's the grand prize, right? If she really likes you, this isn't going to change because you skipped one Friday night. And if she cares about you, and if all she cares about is your party, then who needs her, man? He hesitated. I realized that was the only way to get through to Jake. If you tried to reason with him, it went in one ear and out the other. The only way to get his attention was to structure your argument in terms of the sole currency of any value to him. Wanting Dee Dee, having Dee Dee, keeping Dee Dee. I knew Jake liked me, but at a certain point our friendship was one-sided because all he truly cared about was Dee Dee. At last, he managed to work up a careworn version of the Jake smile. You're coming tonight, right, baby? I can't keep Nelson off you. Not for that. It's going to be a major blowout. You have to be here. The 4 kegs loomed like cooling towers of a nuclear power plant. The word meltdown formed on my lips, but I didn't speak it aloud. He looked at me hopefully. Right, baby? I sighed. Right. I often wondered if I did the right thing saying yes. I was his staunchest, and pretty much his only ally at Fitz. If I had refused to come that night, would it have been the 9/11 call that penetrated his laser beam singleness of purpose? Would he have seen reason and called off the party? At that moment, even Jake must have realized that something awful was about to happen. So the author does a really great job here of building what we like to call suspense leading into our next chapter. So we know that Nelson is in a rage and is willing to seek blood. And we know that this party is going to be of epic proportions. First of all, 4 kegs, when in the past they only had 1 keg. So that's how many more people are already planning to come to this party. And most of them are going to be college kids, which also changes the whole dynamic of the party. So we know that we are heading into a crap storm of a party in the next chapter. That's it. We're done.